They assumed it was nothing more than another fragment from the depths of space, a silent interstellar traveler drifting harmlessly toward the sun. Then the James Webb Space Telescope recorded something utterly unexpected. A deep crimson coma, perfectly symmetrical, far too precise to be natural. No water vapor, no tail, none of the familiar traits of a comet. Only carbon dioxide, released with clock-like regularity. Now, scientists are murmuring words they never imagined voicing. What if this object isn't a comet at all? The last time anything similar appeared, it was Oumuamua, an event that rattled astronomy worldwide. But 3I/Atlas doesn't just challenge existing knowledge. It overturns it. And with each passing day, it draws nearer. What James Webb has now confirmed about 3I/Atlas goes beyond shocking. It's terrifying. And no one, not even NASA, is ready for what comes next. From the outset, 3I/Atlas defied every expectation tied to interstellar visitors. Instead of a chaotic cloud of dust and water vapor, Webb detected something entirely alien. A vast, red, gaseous sphere, expanding evenly in every direction, spanning nearly the distance between Earth and the Moon. Its color was not faint or icy, but an unsettling crimson glow. Most disturbing of all, this halo wasn't formed by water. It consisted solely of carbon dioxide. At this distance from the sun, water should dominate. Every comet ever observed at this range sheds water first, producing dramatic jets and tails that excite even amateur astronomers. Atlas ignored those rules entirely. No jets, no eruptions, no disorder, only a calm, constant venting of CO2, as if a switch had been flipped and left running under deliberate control. When astronomers examined the nucleus at the center of the coma, the results were chilling. Early Hubble estimates suggested a small body, perhaps 300 to 500 meters wide. But when Webb and SphereX scanned it in near-infrared wavelengths, the reflected light told a different story. It didn't align with those measurements at all. Repeated models indicated the nucleus could exceed 46 kilometers in diameter, larger than more than 90% of all known comets. An object of that size should have been obvious long ago. Its gravity alone should have distorted background starlight, yet had remained unseen. How? Some proposed the reflectivity came from particles in the coma rather than the core. That idea collapsed once the reflectivity curve was analyzed. It was too smooth, too uniform, too perfect. Natural bodies scatter light irregularly. This reflection was symmetrical, polished, and consistent, like a mirror shaped by intelligence. Every comet speaks, and most speak through water. As they warm, ice sublimates into vapor, forming luminous tails. But 3I/Atlas has remained eerily quiet. Spectral data confirms water exists beneath its surface, dormant and intact, yet barely emerging. Only 4.5 kilograms of water per second are released, a fraction of what should occur. One hypothesis suggests the intense CO2 outgassing acts as a thermal blanket, cooling the surface and trapping the water below. Another claims the water lies too deep for solar heat to reach. But neither explanation accounts for the precision. No cracks, no fluctuations, no spikes, just the same steady CO2 rhythm, again and again, like machinery, which raises an unsettling possibility. What if the lack of water isn't accidental? What if it's deliberate? If an object breaks every known rule of comet behavior, why isn't it dominating headlines? When Oumuamua appeared in 2017, global media erupted. Within days, Harvard scientists publicly entertained the idea of alien technology. But 3I/Atlas? Silence. NASA's SphereX detected it in August 2025, capturing the massive red coma, the missing water, the anomalous reflectivity. Yet there were no press briefings, no interviews, not even a social media post. The data surfaced quietly weeks later in a routine blog entry, as if history were not unfolding. Some cite protocol. Others warn against speculation. Still, a growing number of scientists are saying what many suspect. This feels familiar. This feels managed. And if NASA is staying quiet, perhaps it's because they know more than they're revealing. 3I/Atlas doesn't just appear strange. It moves strangely. Its trajectory isn't merely interstellar. It's unervingly exact. Unlike comets flung inward by gravity or drifting along passive hyperbolic paths, 3I/Atlas follows a calculated route, skimming planets and solar radiation closely enough to sample them, yet never close enough to be disrupted. When astronomers reverse-engineered its path, they were stunned. The object appeared to make subtle mid-course corrections, tiny angular shifts that no natural body should be capable of. Such adjustments require energy, intent, and awareness. This object isn't drifting through the solar system. It's navigating it. When these paths were compared with historical records of unexplained celestial events, some researchers began to wonder if this wasn't its first visit, but merely the latest, hidden long ago in observations misidentified as stars or eclipses. As James Webb analyzed the coma's spectrum, another discovery ignited intense behind-the-scenes debate. The object emits signatures of complex organic molecules, common enough in space. But the ratios and arrangements were deeply unsettling. Methanol, carbon monoxide, formaldehyde, not randomly dispersed, but layered in repeating patterns. The structure mirrored protein folding seen in terrestrial biology. No one claims 3I/Atlas is alive. But the molecular order implies purpose. A once fringe theory now gaining traction suggests these molecules may form a biological probe, not a message to decode, but one meant to be absorbed by a planetary biosphere. A payload. And if Earth's atmosphere interacts with it correctly, we may not have years. We may have only months. On a quiet morning in late July, the SETI Institute detected a signal, not from distant stars, but from a region between Mars and Jupiter. It was brief, narrowband, repeating. Converted to audio, it resembled a pulsed synthetic tone, like a rotating beacon used in early radar or submarine sonar. Normally, SETI would dismiss such a signal as interference. This time, they couldn't. The signal shifted in perfect sync with 3I/Atlas's trajectory. As the object moved, so did the source. For 17 minutes, the tone echoed across multiple observatories. Then it stopped. When SETI attempted triangulation, their systems failed. Data logs vanished. Antennas misaligned. Backups corrupted. The official explanation blamed weather. Yet every engineer involved signed non-disclosure agreements. Some resigned. One was hospitalized after claiming the signal followed him into his dreams. James Webb, operating in infrared, can detect heat from the dawn of the universe. When aimed at 3I/Atlas's nucleus, scientists expected a cold but measurable core. Instead, they found a flat line. Zero. Not low. Not fluctuating. Perfectly null. This is impossible. Every object emits some infrared radiation. Yet 3I/Atlas absorbed and reflected none. It was as if it didn't exist thermally or existed outside known dimensions. Cross-checks with ESA's solar orbiter confirmed it. No heat, no absorption, even under solar wind bombardment. The only conclusion was horrifying. The core isn't made of any known material. It may be hollow, cloaked, or merely a shell. Some believe what we see is a mask, hiding something beyond frequencies we cannot yet detect. Something that has observed us long before we learned how to observe it. When researchers enhanced images of the coma using Fourier transforms and multispectral filters, they uncovered a chilling pattern. Within the gas cloud, which should be chaotic, was a repeating fractal structure. Not once, but in every frame across 17 days. The geometry was recursive and precise, as if encoding information visually. When mapped against known mathematical constants, it aligned with the golden ratio and Fibonacci sequences, patterns embedded in nature and human cognition alike. Was this a signal, a test, a trap, or was something more disturbing? A form of communication designed not for instruments, but for minds. As data reached bioinformatics teams worldwide, another correlation emerged. The molecular arrangements, particularly carbon-rich compounds, overlapped almost perfectly with sequences in mitochondrial DNA linked to aging and neural development. A controversial theory formed that 3I/Atlas carries resonant biological code, not to infect, but to activate dormant genetic instructions. What if it isn't delivering something new, but awakening something ancient? What if evolution itself was scheduled? What if 3I/Atlas is a cosmic clock? This wouldn't be contact. It would be reconnection, a switch thrown from light years away, capable of accelerating consciousness or extinguishing it. Observatories worldwide soon reported another anomaly, a delay between the light emitted by the object and the gravitational influence it produced. Gravity shouldn't lag. Yet refined models revealed a second invisible mass trailing exactly 312,000 kilometers behind 3I/Atlas. This gravitational shadow emitted nothing. No light, no radiation. Yet its pull bent comet tails and warped starlight. Comparable in mass to a small asteroid, but utterly silent. Some theorists believe this is the true object, with 3I/Atlas serving as a decoy. A mask. If so, everything observed so far is merely a curtain. 2 weeks ago, a leaked document from a high-level aerospace contractor claimed the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs had received a classified transmission from NASA, ESA, and CNSA. It warned that 3I/Atlas no longer follows known celestial models and called for coordinated planetary observation escalation. The leak was denied and scrubbed, but satellite logs revealed a global spike in encrypted communications, followed by synchronized firmware updates across orbital telescopes worldwide. An operation that normally takes months, completed in under 36 hours. Why the urgency? Why the silence? As scientists modeled the CO2 emissions, they discovered a rhythm embedded in the venting intervals. When scaled logarithmically, the spacing matched Planck time, the smallest unit of time in physics. Atomic clocks in Geneva, Tokyo, and Boulder began registering microsecond desynchronizations. It was as if 3I/Atlas's frequency subtly distorted spacetime. Civilian reports followed. Clock skipping, drones losing sync, military systems encountering time errors. If it can warp time from afar, what happens when it approaches? While the coma remained active, Webb detected the core temperature dropping to nearly 40 Kelvin, near absolute zero. Such cold is incompatible with active outgassing. Stranger still, the cold zone was perfectly spherical, sharply bounded, with no gradient. Something was regulating it. Some now suspect a cryogenic chamber, preserving sensitive material, perhaps even life. The idea that 3I/Atlas is a delivery mechanism has entered mainstream astrobiology. And if it's cryogenic, it's meant to awaken. The Very Large Telescope in Chile conducted high-speed photometric imaging as 3I/Atlas passed behind distant stars. Instead of revealing shape, it produced light echoes. After the object passed, faint reflections lingered for hours, then days, shifting with Earth's rotation. Lens effects were ruled out. The echoes persisted across instruments. It was as if the object left an imprint in space-time or existed in multiple moments simultaneously. A Harvard quantum optics team now believes this may be a temporal echo, evidence of an object not bound by linear time. After months of analysis, an unlikely coalition of mythologists and astrophysicists published a once unthinkable idea. Ancient record from Sumerians, Chinese, Mayans, and the Indus Valley all described a returning star, appearing every 13 lifetimes, carrying a mirror that reflects Earth's soul. The descriptions matched 3I/Atlas precisely. The red eye, the symmetry, the silent passage. Rituals of stillness marked its arrival. These texts, long dismissed as myth, are now under serious review. Because if 3I/Atlas is not a comet, but a watcher, then perhaps humanity has seen it before. And if our ancestors prepared, maybe we should too. As 3i/Atlas continues its silent advance, a new unease is spreading through the scientific world, one that no data chart can fully capture. This is no longer just an anomaly to be studied at a distance. It is an approaching presence. Every recalculated orbit tightens the margin for error, every observation window narrowing the gap between theory and consequence. What troubles researchers most is not a single discovery, but the accumulation of impossibilities stacking neatly atop one another, forming a pattern that feels intentional rather than accidental. Internal simulations now show that even minor deviations in 3i/Atlas's trajectory could expose Earth to prolonged interaction with its coma. Not an impact, not a collision, but something subtler and potentially more dangerous. A prolonged immersion in an environment saturated with structured molecules, anomalous radiation gaps, and gravitational distortions. Models cannot agree on the outcome. Some predict nothing at all. Others predict cascading failures in satellite systems, biological stress responses, or neurological effects that unfold quietly over time. The uncertainty itself has become the threat. Behind closed doors, language has begun to change. Scientists no longer ask what 3i/Atlas is. They ask when it activates. This shift is subtle but profound. Objects do not activate. Systems do. Probes do. Instruments do. And activation implies intent tied to proximity, timing, and observation. The closer it gets, the more responsive it appears, as if distance itself were a trigger. Even the silence has taken on weight. No warning. No unmistakable signal meant for translation. No declaration. If this is contact, it is not conversational. It is observational, clinical, detached. The kind of encounter where the subject is unaware of the full scope of the examination until it is already underway.